Okay, that says we're live, and hopefully the audio is working. If you guys see these videos, you know that I do most of them from my office, and not from my home office. But today is an anomaly as those Tuesdays go, so you get my home office. In any case, this is one of those video blogs subsequent to our written blog being posted on our website and going out to those of you that subscribe. And I do think, again, that we've had a tech issue free delivery of those emails. I got mine. Hopefully, if you're subscribed, you received yours. And it's really an interesting subject this time around. It's about property taxes, residential property taxes, and understanding how they work and how they're calculated and what the rates are and exemptions and so on and so forth. Obviously, the biggest piece of it is that it's really based, the baseline is the value of your property. Now, in theory, we hope that you're always being a little underassessed and that the assessed value is lower than what the appraised value or what you could sell it for would be. If not, there's another bit to this blog that would talk about that, and we're always happy to talk to any of you about that because we do think that that's a really big deal. But the sales valuation, the cost to rebuild, the income that's generated on investment property, these are all things that may very well be going into the calculations for what an assessed value is, dependent upon where you live. Then you talk about the mill levy. That's how we actually calculate what the property taxes are. So if the mill levy were 1 mil, meaning a dollar for every 1,000 in taxable value, you would essentially be paying 0.1% of the value of your home every year in property taxes. Okay, so that would be a 1% tax rate. And we do have some example calculations on the blog as well. You can go look at our website and check that out. What do those taxes pay for is obviously a very big deal, and it's obviously public schools and transportation and roads and infrastructure, police and fire, health facilities, hospitals, emergency rooms, those kinds of things, parks and libraries, a lot of recreational type stuff. So the property taxes have a significant value. We do need them because obviously we need to be able to keep up all of those public services, as it were. Okay, we talk about exemptions, deductions, deferrals, and this has become a really big deal with our clientele. And maybe it's just because I've been doing this for so long that we have clients that are not only old enough to get property tax exemptions. In Colorado, for the most part, it is, I believe, an age of 65 and that you have lived in the home as your primary residence for 10 years. And then that will start your ability to have property tax exemptions. If you're not sure, reach out. We'll talk about it. In fact, I left a couple messages for clients this week that had just popped into my head thinking, you are old enough and you have lived there long enough. We should probably talk about making sure that your property taxes are as low as possible. We talked about the fact that property taxes are tax deductible. I am not a tax preparer. I am not a CPA. Please do check with your tax preparer. But yes, the IRS does allow for property taxes to be deducted. We talk about disputes, how to dispute the valuation of your property. In Colorado, the county assessors work on an every other year, a 24-month cycle. And well, in fact, here, still sitting on my desk is my 2025 real property notice, and it did go down quite a bit in 25, although this was a snapshot of what was going on in 24, or what they felt the value was in 24, the county, that is. And obviously 2 years prior, the notice came in 23 for a value of what it was in 22, and I don't think I need to tell anybody that at the end of that pandemic era, real estate values certainly in Colorado, certainly in the Denver metro area, were probably as high as they had ever been, and I don't think they're that high now. In fact, this would be evidence of that. This was a fairly significant deduction from the previous cycle for me. Hopefully you guys saw that. In fact, of the property I own in Colorado, only one went up in this last cycle, and it was a raw piece of land. So take that into account. We do talk about managing tax expenses a little bit, but most of you I know have your taxes and insurance escrowed into your mortgage. So there's not a whole lot of managing or budgeting that has to be done then. If you took a mortgage with an escrow waiver, for example, or you don't have a mortgage and you're liable for your property taxes, do know in Colorado that if you're paying them twice a year, they're due in February and June. And if you're paying them once a year, they're due in April, and you can do either as a homeowner, as a property taxpayer. So that's really the gist of the blog this time around. That is a ton of information, and I obviously didn't really get into the weeds on the details when it comes to this. So you can go check out the blog post if you're not subscribed to the email list of the people that do get it. So that's it this time around, and I did get through it as quick as I could. Have a wonderful day. If you're in the Denver metro, stay warm and dry. We're having a unique fall, not quite cold enough to snow yet, rainstorm, although I guess they're getting snow up in the high country. And again, I am neither a CPA nor a meteorologist, so take that into account, and we will see you guys next time.